and welcome to Critique the Bot, evaluating AI generated content. My name is Jana Weiss. I'm the Global Online Student Life Coordinator, and we are excited to have you here today. Please remember to mute yourself unless you're going to ask a question, or you can ask a question in the chat. Our presenter today is Alexandria Almastica, and she's a wonderful librarian who is our in-house AI expert, and she's going to be talking about how to critique the bot. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you so much, Anna. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad that you guys are arriving, that you're making it, and that today we're going to be, talking a little bit about critiquing that bot and see what's happening in the world of AI. So let me see. I'm putting my chat up and then I'm going to share my screen in a couple of moments. So I do want to do a little bit of a warning for this session. This is not the session where we are necessarily cheering for the use of AI. Uh, in fact, this session takes a very critical look at some of the things. And I do want you to know that I use artificial intelligence across different platforms and different types of services. So some of the examples that we're gonna see are very simple. But also from a variety of different media. If we have an opportunity, we're going to test ourselves. But I want you to be aware that this session is not the one when we come learn necessarily how to do something with AI. Those sessions were conducted earlier, and probably in the spring we're gonna have more. But this one is the one where if you are not too happy about AI or have concerns, um, we'll see some of the things that we need to be aware, and also we're going to consider ways of thinking that can aid you in recognizing things. Okay, so before I start, do I have any questions from the attendees? Let me see, what questions do you have about critiquing AI and everything that is happening? Take a couple of minutes here. You can unmute and tell me, or you can type it in the chat. Questions? Presley, Armando, Rebecca, Trong, Tompkins, Thomas, or Shireen, any questions? No questions. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me just one moment. So usually when I prepare presentations and different activities to share, my slides don't have a lot of text. In the case of this specific experience that we're gonna have to see today, you're gonna see that some of my slides have a little bit more text than usual. And I'll make sure to comment on why is it I selected to do that for today. So you should be seeing our Houston City College logo. Is that correct, Jana? We see the logo? Thank you.
Yes.
I'm dragging my presentation now from another screen. Here we go. Okay, so hold on. I'm in a different slide. This is what happens when you have multiple slides. Okay, and if you wonder, for today, I'm using a software called Gamma. for this presentation, and I'll talk about that at the end. So, welcome to Critique the Bot. We're going to understand some of the risks of using AI tools in the context of academic success, and we're going to talk about how not to be a robot, okay? We want you to maintain your human sovereignty in the process and your critical thinking skills as you are interacting with AI. So, when we are considering the issue of AI, one thing that comes out a lot is who makes knowledge. You're going to see a lot of people saying, who's preparing all of these different, information pieces? Who's giving us the data that we are retrieving? And before the era of AI, let's see, we had a little bit more of a different way of thinking about the world in terms of the generation of content. So there's different sectors, right? Government, media and civil society, corporations, no government organizations, and academia. So different sectors prepare different, you know, quantities of information that has to do with the operations that we do. And the information and the knowledge that comes from these sectors, was distributed through a lot of different ways. Okay. Um, and all of that started to change when the internet came on board. Because before we used to have information, and oh my goodness, we needed to go and get the information out of a print item, or we needed to go, get a government report. Then when the internet arrived, all of that started being distributed online. So now we went from, maybe experiencing some barriers in access to experiencing great access to a lot of pieces of information. Having said that, I always want you to remember that we don't always have access to all the information. Some information is proprietary. Some information, usually if it's corporate, then in the corporate world, some information cannot be disclosed, right? To non-disclosure agreements. But a lot of information, also in the government, some of the information is not available if it's classified, right? So there are levels of access to information. So as the internet came along and we got all this information online, everybody was like super excited about it because of the ease of access. And then all of a sudden, now you know that in 2022, ChatGPT went to the web and started revolutionizing the way people think about information. And this is something that I can't stress enough how important it is for you to consider the nature of what information and knowing is. Okay. So, in this process of critiquing the AI and being very critical, I want you to think about the nature of information, the nature of knowledge, the nature of data leading to wisdom. And in this context, I use the word artificial intelligence, but mainly I'm referring to generative AI, which are tools that would allow you, right, to create different things. But do know that when we use AI, that means way more than just some of the products that we're using, right? Most of the time, we are using very specific platforms for creating products. So, within the context of what we are doing in academia, you're going to see that a lot of people complain about academic dishonesty, or that the AI is not, accurate in terms of the facts, or that there is, the erosion of critical thinking. Um, and one of the reasons that everybody's so concerned about this is that pretty much, you can bring AI into whatever you're doing. You can ask a question and just by asking a question, you're going to get an answer at the speed that you were never able to get before. And when you're looking at the text on the screen, you are going to think, if you are not thinking critically, even the AI is saying it, that what you're seeing is true. When in fact, let's query this. There is not a human author behind anything. And even the AI is saying what I just shared is in quoted from a single author, but it's a general explanation of the concept of critical thinking. And then now it's starting to give different sources and saying different things about it, right? And of course, there is supposedly a citation right here. So far, when you engage with AI in this way, and you don't look for sources in other places, you are surrendering your capacity and your, let's say, your right to choose. You are giving it away. So, for example, as a librarian, you could say, but hey, Alex, when I work with you, right? And and I ask you a question about critical thinking, you're gonna find some sources for me and you're gonna give me some, right? And I'm going to say, well, as a librarian, if you ask me a question, we're going to look at multiple sources and you are going to have a general area in which you are going to go select whatever you think is best for you. Okay? So there's a difference in the process of me just saying, hey, this is the book you need to read, right? Versus me giving you an option to, this is what you have to do. So with artificial intelligence and queries, AI, depending on how you construct your query, is going to give you some results, but you won't know or have access beyond that. Not only that, but you have no idea where the information is coming from. And I have to say, because I had somebody that showed me, oh well, but the AI is giving me sources, right? But what the person didn't realize is that they have been working with AI for such a long time that now the AI had their pattern of work in such a way that it was automatically bringing, sources, let's say, okay? So, in the process of interacting with AI and then looking at what AI is doing, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that what's on the screen it's enough, when perhaps it actually might not be enough, and it's simply something that we need to look at in a different way, with a very maybe a challenging perspective, right? Because we don't necessarily want to accept what the AI is delivering to us. Um, and one of the reasons why you are going to see that our professors and a lot of people around us say, well, don't use AI, is because, well, you don't know where the information is coming from. And even if you ask for it, sometimes AI can give you things that are not necessarily true. So you have to be very careful with that. As you go through the process of using artificial intelligence and you're evaluating and thinking critically, one thing that I want to highlight, it's something that we don't see a lot these days, and it's an old school way. I will call it old school, but it's actually, I think it's something from the 90s. It's called the DIKW pyramid. And this has a lot to do with how we look at information. And usually, everybody, for example, if you have the word knowledge and information, you could take it as meaning the same thing, but they're not the same in this model, right? So some people look at data as that which is the raw facts that we extract from the world. Like, for example, the sun came up, okay? Um, but then if you say something about the sun within the context of the summer, and that it rose at a certain height at a certain time, then you start making the data more contextualized, and you increase what that means, right? And then perhaps you decide to study this a little bit further, and you develop a deeper understanding that becomes yours, leading to a place of judgment. So this process in which you're actually getting information, raw data, transforming it into information, and then making knowledge is very different from what you are actually in the way you interact with AI. So with AI, pretty much you could pretty much say that all you're getting is data, and that when you assess it, maybe it might become information. But AI is not necessarily giving you that organized understanding. And then there is that fine line when you're going to say, well, but I can ask AI, right, for an outline. It's organizing it for me, right? And then when you start thinking that way, one thing that I want to remind you is that large language models, like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Perplexity, what other one is, oh, Poe, Claude, they are predicting organization of things based on whatever you say that they're going to do, or whatever whoever said that they were going to do, right? There is no thinking in the process. So each and every one of you today have your own approach to doing things, right? Uh, and it might be different. And you could use AI perhaps to determine a way of organizing some things. But does the AI know you? And I want you to answer that question on on the chat. Does the AI know you? Any type of AI that you might be using? Do you think it's a yes or a no? Does the AI know you? Uh-huh. Rick is saying no. The AI does not know you. What's Dale says no either. Uh-huh. It does not know you. Sheeran said nope. William saying that it knows him. Yeah, it gets to know. Jana is mentioning something very interesting. Jana saying that the AI gets to know your style. Yes, it does. Over a period of time. Let's see what else we had. It gets to know you over time. Okay, very interesting. Armando's saying that he doesn't use it at all. So you see how we use the word no, you know? We're using the word no in regards to how a machine is gathering data about us for making predictions. Think about that. Ima- Imagine if I was like, Jana, I'm gonna gather data around you to make some predictions about you. Jana would be like, no, Alex, why are you thinking? Like, we don't do that, right? We talk to people and we interact with in certain ways to learn about each other. So be very careful with thinking that the AI knows anything about you other than data. And you could think about it as the same way that you evaluate. For example, do you know those weird occasions when you're on your phone and you're browsing and then you start getting information about things that you were talking about? Have you ever had that experience? Because maybe your phone has been listening to you. So, um, so if you give it information over time, it knows you based on your info. Really, please don't give the AI private information. Erica, there you go. Erica's mentioning now. It tracks. It tracks. It's extracting data from your queries and the things that you do, and then it uses that to predict, to make predictions, right? And of course, because I'm saying in a human language, I don't speak the language of AI, but I could see it like a mathematical, it's using its algorithms to predict. Does tracking only happen if you logging on an account or just anytime? Whoo! So at this time, I think sometimes some of the AI platforms give you the ability to do maybe a few searches without logging in, but after that, it makes you log in. And I am pretty sure that it's gonna track. I know that it's tracking whatever you are asking, whatever you're asking, unless, and I haven't seen this feature yet. There's a feature to prevent it. And I know there is, like in ChatGPT, there is a feature that prevents you from having the data being added to their data set. Okay. But you may want to consider that as long as you're logging in into any type of artificial intelligence platform, the platform is going to keep the data in regards to the way you're interacting and the things that it is producing. Oh my goodness. Erica is asking, like Google AI, does it track your searches and modify the response based on what you search for over time? So I'm going to make a note here. Google AI tracking. And then this is what the way I want you to think about it. So the name of the artificial intelligence from Google is Gemini, right? So you have Google Gemini and you have the Google search engine, and those things are separate. And I do have an example for that in a moment. So at this time, I could say that we already know that Google, the browser, tracks what we do. And the Gemini does it too. Now, in terms of modification, um, I would say that probably it depends on the way you act, on the way you ask. Okay. Um, that's Erica. I see what you're saying about the AI that ChatGPT tracks, but it's tracking because you are allowing it to track. So, for example, if in your ChatGPT account, when you are prompting, you constrain the AI to not consider any of the previous answers, or you create different projects within the AI, then you can have separate universes of data sets that you create. Does that make sense? So if you are running all your queries on ChatGPT all the time, and then you are just feeding your content, then everything's gonna become a part of your data set. But if you divide things in project and put constraints, it won't go into data sets to get information like that. Okay. So that is, hold on. I thought that was me. So that is one way of thinking about, where is the data coming? Oh, you're welcome. So if you haven't, make sure that you're dividing. And of course, over time, the data could be beneficial not only for you, but it's also beneficial for the company. So that's something that you have to be very aware of, right? What type of data, how you're using it, uh, and where's that gonna end up? Well, who knows, at this point. But there's also terms of services. So thank you so much for mentioning that about data and tracking. So let me go back here to our presentation. So remember this, idea of, what is it that I'm getting? Because some people will tell you that the people that are able to produce knowledge at this time are humans, that the machines cannot produce knowledge yet. So you hear stories about Skynet and movie type of things and sci-fi kind of affairs happening. But this model relies a lot on human intelligence. Machine intelligence, it's a little bit different. So another thing that people highlight when they talk about AI is how is it that the algorithm that is used has an issue of bias, right? We don't know what kind of information went into that data set, and who placed it there. So you have to be really aware of your outputs that you're getting, or what you are witnessing in regards to AI, to be sure that there's that maybe responses that you're getting are not something that goes into areas that are not acceptable. um but you have to have that awareness, and and it's something that you shouldn't try to just develop with between the AI. You want to have awareness with outside sources. Okay, there are also some risks with security and the privacy of data, in the sense that the more you feed AI, the more you're giving it a little bit of your data. And these days is sometimes kind of hard to identify exactly where we are, because when we do a search online, for example, a search for artificial intelligence, now one of the first things that you're going to see are these AI overviews. Okay, and the AI overview, if I hover over this little link right here and click on it, I kind of don't can't immediately tell where this is coming from. You know, it's not that clear which of these sources it is, right? Um, and then I I have to go fish around and find where that is appearing to be sourced from. And one thing that, I mean, it in a turn of events, which is something that we have not seen before. I think Wikipedia is starting to experience problems, because a lot of people are now just using AI. When AI took data from Wikipedia to make, to make their product. Same thing as Reddit, right? So when you are using these systems, you have to know exactly where you are getting your information from. If you do not know, you run the risk of, let's say, tarnishing your credibility a little bit. And one thing that is very subtle that people don't talk a lot enough is that the data set for, let's say, ChatGPT, and I don't know about others, and I will have to research that, like Gemini, or let's say Cloud, code of data set. It's set at a certain point in time. Okay, so that means that the data that you're seeing from, for the data set, or the system, the way you're interacting with it, it just doesn't go all the way to the present. Okay, so that gives you knowledge in a limited perspective. Another thing is that you remember that circle graphic that I share. ChatGPT doesn't have access, or even the other language, the models, they don't have access to all the data that is available. So for some of you, it might become really important to get access to specific types or data sets of information that are available for your profession or for your professional development. Okay. Um, and this is something that you perhaps won't think about too much until you get to a point in your career where you're actually needing the specific data sets that are not available for free. Um, so one thing that we're seeing is that a lot of people tend to think that now everything is AI, and this is the same thing that we had a couple of years ago when everybody said, "Oh, everything's available on Google." And now it's, "Oh, everything's available in AI." And then if we take the past as an example of the future, no, not everything was available through Google, and not everything is gonna be available through AI. So then your ability to stay up to date in what you can have access to and where that is accessible is going to be very important. Having said that, I don't necessarily encourage you to pay. I definitely don't want you to pay for information online, right? If you need a free access to information, the libraries have a lot of different types of resources that you use for your project and assignments. The difference is that it's not going to, the information that we have for you is not going to come as you know consume or formatted as the same type of information that you will get from a large language model. But then, what you're getting from the large language model for some people is just not information at all. Some people read it like it is. In terms of me, like if you're my student, I'm not gonna tell you, oh yeah, just go to the GPT and get an output that, and then that will be enough. You need to have some type of reference, and maybe that reference could be yourself, your own ways that you're thinking about things. But if you prompt and get things out, people are just gonna criticize you for not thinking. Okay, so let me get back here to critique the bot. So remember, don't, oh, in addition, don't put your personal data in the bot. Uh, that is something that is really important. There's some concerns about something called cognitive load and also the loss of self-efficacy and social isolation. Um, because AI tools can reduce the mental effort that you practice, right? And in a way you can be a little bit less confident in doing things if you see that the AI is already doing it for you, because some people may become a little bit lazy, and some people are highlighting also isolation as an issue. I don't think that that might become a real such a big issue in the future, but it's being highlighted in the literature that there's some psychological and cognitive impacts. And when we get to this part of thinking about, let's say, psychology, self-esteem, or different problems or issues that we might have, please do not use the AI as your therapist. Do not use the AI as a source of medical advice. Consult with a live, living, and breathing human being. This is really important for your wellness, okay? Um, so please, please, please take good care of yourselves. And then there is an issue with AI that's really interesting. It's called the psychopathy problem. And that is that AI has a tendency to agree with you. So when AI has that tendency to agree with you, you don't have a sounding board, right? Uh that can challenge your perspective and your point of view. Oh, so Shireen is now asking, what are some jobs which some believe AI are going to take them in the future? Guys, what have you heard about that? About jobs that AI is going to take in the future? Type it on the chat box. I have some ideas, but I'm gonna wait to see. I have what other jobs? Oh, Presley, something about the food industry, like fast food. I have a story for you about that. Erica is saying digital communication and graphic design, and then tech jobs. Okay, so let me see. Okay, I'm gonna share with you something on my screen. Usually, when we talk about jobs and the job market, um, we there's a lot of people that refer to the World Economic Forum. Okay, so I went ahead and I pulled the data real quick. So if somebody was to ask you, okay, what would be instead of just asking AI, this is the future of jobs reports for 2025 from the World Economic Forum. And here you can see the largest growing jobs and the largest declining jobs. So the number one, this I don't know how I feel about this. The number one largest growing job is farmer workers, laborers, and agricultural workers. Then light truck, delivery and service, right? Software and application developers, buildings and farmers, and shop salespersons. But then in declining, cashiers and ticket clerks, administrative assistants and executive secretaries, building caretakers, cleaners, housekeepers. I don't know how this is possible. Number three, material recording and stock keeping clerks and printing and related trade workers. Now I have a story about this cashiers and ticket clerks. Let me stop here for a second. Um, I'm gonna share this link with you. And I have a question before I tell you my story. Do you know somebody that has lost their job because of AI? Not yet. Has anybody interacted with somebody that has lost their job because of AI? No? Okay. So now I have another question. Yes, that's true, Erica. Has anybody been to Taco Bell lately to order through the drive-through? Tell me if you have. No? Okay. So Presley saying no, no, it was a person. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you guys your story. I'm here at the Ailey Face campus on Westheimer. There's a Taco Bell very close, right? And one day I wanted to have like a Mountain Dew, right? So I went there and I'm going through the drive-through and I hear the voice of a lady, right? And it sounds strange. So I was like, I think AI is taking my order. And of course, the days earlier I read the article about um the gentleman that ordered like I think it was I don't know if it was like 10,000 bottles of water over the yeah, it was something very strange. Anyway, so I complete my order. The the person sounds very, eloquent. So then I go to the cashier to pay, right? I went to the cashier to pay through the car. And then when I am interacting with the staff member, I tell them, oh, was that AI? It's my first time placing an order using AI. And he said, yeah, it's the first time. Yes, now we have the AI is taking the orders and we no longer have cashiers. And I was like, wait 1 second. What I did a whole interview right there in the drive-thru. What do you mean that you don't longer have cashiers? And then he explained to me, I am the manager right now. AI is taking the orders, and then I have three staff members working with me. And then he said, and they reduce the hours of the staff that's working here. So that happened just to me like a couple of weeks ago, right down here away from work. So I had that moment. It was okay. This is the first time that I actually know somebody that is telling me the place I work, it's being affected by generative AI. And if you notice on the top of that list, what we saw was clerks and ticket sellers, right? Um, and then you have the whole function about the administrative assistance, right? Because there's a lot of different tools out there, which is also a problem with AI. Um, we talk about the major big players, but there's so many different tools right now that you could become like you could make so many accounts, and you have to be careful in which ways and where and which account are you using to create your own accounts. So I always tell people in these sessions to make sure that you keep your phone account. Don't tie your phone account to trials and testing things. Keep that account separate from accounts that you may be using to test different software, okay? Because you don't know what type of data or what type of things are being installed, right? Um, we don't have absolute knowledge of everything that is happening behind the scenes. It's not as, oh, I'm going to write, in a piece of paper and I know exactly how that works, right? This is something different. So let me share my screen. Thank you for that question about and the commentary on the jobs. And I shared this with you. And we talked a little bit about the issue of the psychophancy, right? Where AI agrees. Um, and this happens a lot. And it's subtle. It is so subtle that people don't necessarily figure out that they're interacting with a system that is trying to keep things going in a smooth way. Okay. So I mentioned the fact that there's a lot of different types of AI, and I'm going to show some images on the screen, and I want you to tell me which of these are fake. Okay, so we're gonna start with number one. Is that image fake? Human created, AI generated? Let me bring the chat. Oh my goodness.
They're all saying fake.
Fake? Okay. Okay.
That was an
Good.
easy one, though.
It's the baseline. Baseline. It's okay. How about this one? Is that one fake?
There's some are saying yes, some are saying it's real.
Okay.
AI.
Erica says it's okay. Rebecca says it's real.
Mixed.
Mix. It doesn't look real. Okay. It's hard to tell, right? It's hard to tell. This one is AI generated. It's the lighting. Yes, it's the lighting. This one is AI generated. Yeah, this one it's this one is AI generated. Let's move to the next one. How about this one? Is it real? That one say Percy says Rebecca says it's real. Real. We have mixed results. Notice that comment is the lighting again. The figures look robot. Okay, look how you guys are looking at the image, right? The sunlight. You're highlighting a lot of things that had to do with the lighting, and how the figures look robotic. So by the way, for this exercise, when I generated the image, I selected the golden hour lighting. So golden hour is a certain type of lighting effect that you can have in when you take action photography, right? But none of these are real. Right. It doesn't fall perfect like that. And then the last one. This one is a big is
That
that one
looks
AI?
fake. Yes.
Definitely AI. Definitely. Obviously AI. Fake, fake. Right. Very good. So, it's really interesting. There's also additional commentaries about these images and things that we need to be very mindful and about. So I didn't give any type of prompts to the AI about the people to include in the pictures. It decided to include whoever it came up, the algorithm came up with, right? And we have to be very careful in the way that things are represented in pictures and what are the choices that are made. Okay. Um, in the past, I have other exercises that I done with AI. And in this one, I was surprised to say that nobody lost a limb, meaning that the AI produced images in which everybody was like a whole person. But in the past, I had images that I don't know. When the models were a little bit early, it was something different. So now I have a result on the screen about a question, which is what are the ACC library hours? And I want you to tell me if that answer, which is an AI answer, is correct or if it's not correct. So my question was, are the ACC library out? Not correct. Shireen's saying that it's not correct. No. Armando is also saying that it's not correct.
Mm-mm.
No. And you guys are correct. That answer is not correct. Uh and the other day I was at work and somebody was debating with me because the AI told them that the library was open on Fridays till 9 p.m. And I was like, we're not open on Fridays till 9 p.m. And they said, but the AI, I'm like, well, but the human, no. So that's something that you have to be very, very aware of in terms of, you know, how are we getting information? Where are we getting it from? And how are we looking at it? If Deloitte, which is a really,
Ooh.
well-known company, is caught using AI and a researcher says, oh, there were hallucinations, your report has things that are actually incorrect, we have a problem. Okay. um these are things that are forever changing, and we cannot necessarily say that. I'm gonna bring you an example here. I want you to watch this video. Can you hear that? Can you hear the? No. Okay, let me stop sharing. Here we go. I think for me, one of the most annoying things, I don't know how you guys feel about this, is how is it that, oh, okay, here we go. Include sound. Share. Share. Alrighty.
Welcome to AI in 5, where we cram decades of research into one coffee break. Because who has time to read a 400-page textbook when your next class starts in 12 minutes? Today's topic is AI in one breath. AI is software that imitates smart behavior, learning from heaps of human-made data, spotting patterns, and making snap decisions. Think of it as a super-fast note-taker that sometimes gets the notes creatively wrong. Fans say AI will unlock innovation. Critics say, cool story. What about jobs, inequality, and bias? Hence the policy scramble. Write rules, draft ethics codes, and race to invest so your country doesn't finish last in the global AI Olympics. In 2022, AI started writing, drawing, and explaining on command. ChatGPT explodes, competitors pile in, Copilot, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, and suddenly your group project has a very eager fifth member. Use AI like a calculator with opinions. Helpful, fast, occasionally wrong. Verify sources, cite properly, and keep your brain in the loop.
So that that video was completely generated in AI. The content of the video was something that I wrote, but the entire video, I had nothing to do with the production. It was just a matter of using the tool, dropping the text in there to get the output out. So one thing that I'm going to encourage everybody to do is to make your own plan, to be very critical of AI, and at the same time learn how to use it. I've seen some questions today on the chat. For example, the question about data and how AI is learning. And I want to encourage you to keep that mindset of like, I'm going to experiment and use the tool, but at the same time, I'm going to challenge what the tool can do. Okay. Because undoubtedly by now, we've all seen the integration of AI into a lot of the different products. I do want to know, do you guys want to see AI integrated into your cars? That's something that I haven't seen yet. Can you tell me on chat? Would you, depends on the technology? Okay.
Is AI what they consider when they're like self-driving semis and stuff like that? What technology is that? Is that AI? That when they say it's going to be self-driving, because they're like, yes, now we're having semis from Dallas to Houston using self-driving. That's AI.
That is, yeah, that is automate. That is it's we will have to look into it. It's automated driving, right? But
Right.
the AI does recognize, and I don't think here is it here. No, I went to California and people were talking about the self-driving cars. There is artificial intelligence integrated in there, but I think that's a different thing. I only seen one set of trucks in Austin. Erica says in Austin they have.
There's supposed to be one company that's using them between Dallas and Houston as a test.
Yeah, Dell is saying that Phoenix is the test city for AI-driven cars. Ooh, Phoenix, Arizona? This is hot.
Taxis.
Yes. So, maintain a curious attitude about this topic. And I will say that the way you interact with any type of technology should be one in which you are seeking to remain the human in the loop. Don't surrender your power of choice for the ease of convenience. Don't surrender your power of thinking just because something can be done faster. There are ways in which you can work faster with AI to get things done in a different way, but those are some that we will cover again next semester because this is the last of the series that we did.
AI is an editor.
As an editor, Erica, okay, so I didn't do my warning speech. In the context of ACC, I give always this warning. In the context of ACC, your professors are the first person that you need to talk to about how to use AI in your class. Okay, if your professor says that, don't use it. If your professor says yes, go ahead. Right? Okay. Having said that, perhaps you want to use AI because you're editing something in your life. I don't know. Maybe you're writing a letter to a family member. That's fine. When you're using AI to edit, okay. So if you're using AI to edit, you have to be mindful of syntax, grammar, voice, tone. There are certain specific things that give everybody here like their own unique way of expressing themselves, right? So let me see if I can pull something real quick here. Oh, I have an example. Um, I did a search earlier today for critical thinking, and I think that when I show it to you, let me see. Here we go. Let me do this real quick. Okay. All right. Remember this search for critical thinking that I did earlier in ChatGPT? And this is a free version, by the way. So I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna drop that there. So if I do a prompt like that, I am telling the GPT to produce an output, right? And now it's telling me is there something wrong? And this is being interesting. I've been getting error message this week for the first time in a long time. So there's something wrong today. That's okay. No editing there. But what I was going to show you is that let's say you write something, right? And you could even do it in a piece of paper. You could try to write something and take a picture of it and then upload it to the GPT. So if you upload text to the AI, you have to be very careful because it could alter the way that you write and make it different. And that's one of the things that professors look at when they're actually looking at the content that you guys are delivering. Okay. Another way of using AI is if you get the free version of Grammarly, you can have Grammarly help you compose. Instead of using the version that would just create the output, use Grammarly for composing. Okay. Any other questions? You're welcome, Shireen. I want to take a moment to appreciate your attendance and also, the way that you share their questions. I see that you guys have been thinking about it and using it. And like William said earlier, yes, the AI is gathering some things. So be careful out there in this new world. Explore, be responsible, conduct research with ethics, right? Uh, Learn how to use AI, but be critical. Look at the outputs and see what's going on. You're welcome. You're welcome. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. And I think it's in 2 weeks, we're going to do create your own website. So if you want to, of course, William. No, my pleasure. And keep that thinking mind going. Okay. In like 2-3 weeks, we're gonna have a make your own website. So if you come around, we'll play around with how to make a website. Not using it. Well, yeah, we're gonna use AI for making one website, and another one we're gonna do old school. Bye. You're welcome.